Welcome to part 3 of this series. Series 1 is divided into 3 parts, cut every 15 minutes. The reason is for you not to become bored because it is a technical topic. You need time to understand and relate what was discussed in the previous part. This is also in response to retention. Short topic is better than a long one, especially when it is a technical one. We discussed in part 1 the barrier of learning, the code, and the solution to overcome it. In part 2, we discussed the arrangement of the code and how many days we need to commit to crack the code. In this part 3 of series 1, we will discuss sections, organizations, tables and figures, fine print notes and exceptions, appendices, and the summary of series 1. To continue knowing the structure and organization, let's break down the detail of an article. Example in Article 1.3 Electrical Plans and Specification, it has 3 sections: General, Plans and Specifications, and Substation Plans and Specification. And each section has also a sub-level. Let us take for example Section 1.3.2.1, Plans and Specification. It has a subsection of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, as you can see on your screen. If we break down further Section 1.3.2.1Z, we have another sub-level of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And under sub-level 2, it has another sub-level of small a, b, c. Before we go further, here's the structure of Philippine Electrical Code. Based on my reading, PEC main organization was breakdown in major chapters. The appendix is supporting information on the code. Table of contents shows the content of the code. The index is a keyword reference to find anything that you want to look. Chapters that show major general topics were break down to several articles to further categorize the major topics in a form of a different article. In NEC, articles, however, were further subdivided into different parts like Part 1, Part 2, or Part 3. But in PEC, an article can contain several sections to further elaborate the articles. This is how the difference between PEC and NEC in terms of numbering. For example, grounding and bonding, it is 2.50 in PEC, while in NEC, it is 250. Sections now have detailed information. It was subdivided into sub-level A, B, C, and another sub-level of 1, 2, 3, and another sub-level of small a, b, c, and so on. It contains also fine print notes 1, 2, 3, exception 1, 2, 3, tables and figures, and our code has many sub-level of subdivision. We use big letter A, B, C, major number 1, 2, 3, 4, and small letter A, B, C. And this complicates the Philippine Electrical Code. Unlike National Electrical Code, they reduce the subdivision. They use Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. If one article is so big, then section, then sub-level A, B, C, and numbers 1, 2, 3 only. But by seeing this structure and organization, I hope I convey a way for you to better understand the Philippine Electrical Code. Did you learn something today? Just comment or show your thumbs up to let me know. Here's a tip. The whole number with yellow arrow reads like this. Section 1.3.2.1F. It is wrong to read Article 1.3.2.1F. We can say it correctly by Article 1.3 Electrical Plans Section 2.1F. Now, for you to better understand PEC1 2017, begin with the chapter you want to study. Let's say Chapter 6, Special Equipment. What is special equipment? Let's say fire pump. Focus on articles on fire pump, that is Article 6.95. you need to complete the reading. It has only 6 pages to read. Or if you want Chapter 2, Wiring and Protection, focus on Article 2.50, Grounding and Bonding, which has 34 pages, and Philippine Electrical Code should not be hard to read. If you have your objective in your mind and a breakdown of what you want to study per article. Let us proceed to tables. Philippine Electrical Code has lots of tables. Many requirements of the code are presented in tables. It was put in a table to be systematic and organize information in a row and column. So this is the first table you will find in PEC, safe working spaces with different voltage levels and the safe working space in millimeters. Titles of the table are very important to understand. It presents the content, its application, its limitation, and you shall read it mandatory, no exception, okay? Tables have some notes below them. You shall read them also because it is part of a code. It tells you so many things like conditions, applications, limitations, references, formulas, and other critical information to be observed when you use the table. This is the first figure you can see in PEC 2017. Figure 2.10.3.3, determination of area behind a range. Figures tells us visually what the code wants us to observe. It is sad that there are only few figures in Philippine Electrical Code, but that's okay. My suggestion, however, is for IIEE Electrical Committee to create another appendix of figures that explain some part of the code, especially some single line diagram where fire pump should be put in a single line diagram. There's a lot of interpretation in Article 6.95 fire pumps. This can be cleared and resolved in one single line diagram where all electrical designers should follow. What do you think? Was there so many figures to develop? Think about which part of the code you can contribute and help, and connect with the IIEE committee for your recommendations. Here are the fine print notes, or FPN. In NEC, it is now changed to Informational Notes, or IN, for more clarity, but we still use FPN in PEC. It is a piece of additional information explaining a certain rule where it appeared. This fine print note also contains explanatory material intended to clarify a rule or give assistance, but it isn't a code requirement. It is better to read this because it adds up information that explain further what the code tells us. Okay, let us go to exception. Exceptions are Philippine Electrical Code requirements or permissions that provide an alternative method to a specific rule. There are two types of exception, that is mandatory and permissive. When a rule has several exceptions, those exceptions with mandatory requirements are listed first before the permissive exception. Mandatory exception uses the word shall or shall not. The word shall is an exception that means if you're using the exception, you are required to do it in a very specific way. The phrase shall not means it is not permitted. You shall not do it. A permissive exception uses the word such as shall be permitted, which means it's acceptable but not mandatory to do. Here's an example of an exception. It's a permissive exception. Acceptable but not mandatory. Now, Philippine Electrical Code contains 8 appendices from A to H. This is supportive information only. It can stand alone, but it is not enforceable. It is included for supplementary or informational purposes only, and you can read it independent of topics. as additional information for you. Here's the description of the appendices. Appendix A is about electrical symbols. B is application information for ampacity calculation. C is conduit and tubing fill, tables for conductors and fixtures of the same size. D is wiring design example. E is examples of electrical forms. F is PNS or the Philippine National Standard for Electrical Products. G is arc plus hazard warning label, the recommended label that should be posted in every electrical energized part. H is a table for arc plus hazard, risk categories and PPE rating selections that you can use. Okay, so we have discussed so many things in this first series. We have learned why PEC is hard to understand, yet there is a way to do it easy. We learned our objectives in understanding the Philippine Electrical Code, and you are satisfied meeting the objectives if you continue watching the Philippine Electrical Code series. We know the short history of the Philippine Electrical Code editions, and we are expecting a new release if there is. We learned the arrangement and organization of Philippine Electrical Code, which will guide us in our reading, and the structures of chapters, articles, sections, tables, figures, fine print note, and exceptions that will help us in our decoding task. I hope you got some tips here to better understand our electrical code. Start with a chapter of your interest, focus on specific articles, and then study the sections, tables, figures, fine print note, and exceptions. You are on your way to understanding the Philippine Electrical Code better. You completed Series 1 of this webinar, Understanding the Philippine Electrical Code. Congratulations on your first step. You deserve to have an e-certificate of completion coming from Fractal Knowledge Training Services. To get it, please send me personal message. Here is my messenger QR code. You can scan it and send me a message, introduce yourself, and state what it is that you need. Because there is a requirement on how to get the e-certificate that you can use for self-application of CPD points. You need to fill up the evaluation form regarding the Series 1 and answer 6 simple questions related to the webinar as a proof that you already watched Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. So, once you already complete the videos here in YouTube playlist, a pre-certificate will be emailed to you. You need not to worry about paying me. It's my free service to the electrical profession. So, see you in Series 2. It's about Article 1.0, Introduction to Philippine Electrical Code. You can subscribe to this channel to keep you updated and to support the development of the material in understanding the Philippine Electrical Code. See you in Series 2. Thanks for watching.